Donald Trump returns to the White House for the second time. In a record-breaking rise to power, Donald Trump triumphs and becomes the oldest candidate to become president. He surprised everyone when he took lead and continued extending that lead in what every national poll called the closest election of all time. Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express. In this explainer, we will look at a survey done by AP covering almost 115,000 US voters nationwide. Black voters, men and women, have been the bedrock of the Democratic Party, and Democrats have had a strong pull for Latino voters. It's been the same with young voters. Voters under the age of 30 represent a fraction of the total electorate, but about half of them supported Harris compared to the roughly 6 in 10 who backed Biden in 2020. In the case of Trump, it was slightly more than 4 in 10 young voters, but an improvement from 2020. Another shift that emerged was among Black and Latino voters, who appeared slightly less likely to support Harris than they were to back Biden. About 8 in 10 Black voters backed Harris, down from the roughly 9 in 10 who backed Biden. More than half of the Hispanic voters supported Harris, but that was down slightly from the roughly 6 in 10 who backed Biden in 2020. Trump's support among these groups appeared to rise slightly compared to 2020. While Trump boasted that he would get more support from Black and Latino men, Harris went after educated voters. One of the fault lines in Kamala's campaign was the belief that she was the natural option for the Black and the Latino community. In terms of issues, the data from the survey suggested that about 4 in 10 voters considered the economy and jobs the most important problem facing the country. Roughly 2 in 10 voters said that the top issue is immigration, an anchor of Trump's argument, and about 1 in 10 picked abortion, a pillar of Harris' campaign. In a reminder of just how unusual this election has been, about 1 in 4 Trump voters said that the assassination attempts against him were the most important factor in their vote. But when asked about what most influenced their vote, about half of voters cited the future of democracy, and it crossed over 2 major parties. About 2/3 of Harris voters and about 1/3 of Trump's voters said that the future of democracy was the most important factor in their votes. Incomplete returns show that Donald Trump's convictions, pending indictments, and any concerns over his rhetoric simply were not a sufficient concern to keep tens of millions of Americans from voting for him. Relatively few voters said that Trump's legal cases was a major factor in their decision making this election. Only about a quarter of Trump voters said that the legal cases involving Trump were an important factor. And thus, Donald Trump achieved a historic win in an election that is going to be talked about for decades.